Welcome to Flight Path, a brand new podcast from Tern's R&D exec team. Each week, we invite you into the cockpit for an insider's look at our latest launches, current projects, and upcoming innovations. We're so excited to have you on this journey, so let's dive in. Welcome back to the Flight Path podcast, everybody. We are so excited to kick off another special episode here. We've got some new faces on the podcast, and we're going to get to that in just a second. But for those of you that may be tuning in for the first time, my name is David, the CEO and one of the co-founders here at Tern. And every week joined by the regular hosts, Molly, who heads up our product organization, and Brad, who leads all design. And we spend 30 to 45 minutes every week just talking about what we've shipped at Tern, what's coming up, how we're thinking about product. And so thank you for tuning in. A quick reminder, a couple of quick reminders, actually. One, if you haven't already, click on subscribe. You can follow us on Spotify. You can follow us now, in theory, on Apple Podcasts as well. That's a new ad this week. It finally went through, so that's exciting. And of course, on YouTube. And so wherever you're watching or listening, go ahead and click subscribe. We're hoping that there are no power outages this week, so we'll hopefully get to see Brad in full lighting throughout. And if you have no idea what that means, you need to watch last week's episode. And with that long introduction, let's get to these new faces on the line. So for those of you that have been listening, you know that a big part of our focus over the past couple of weeks has been bringing on some incredible new people to the Tern team. And we are joined by two of them today. We've got Courtney and Brooklyn. And we wanted to kick off this episode with just kind of some quick intros. So you as listeners get to know the team, get to know how we're growing, and just really feel like you've got a connection, not just with the three of us, but with the entire Tern team. So we're going to start off with Courtney. Courtney, tell the people a little bit about who you are, what team you're joining, what excited you about joining Tern. Fill the people in.
Yeah, nice to be here. Super excited to be able to join today's episode. So hey everybody, Courtney. I'm going to be on the agency partnerships team. And what's got me excited about being at Tern? I mean, obviously you guys have been listening into these folks, and you know how great they are, and what a pleasure it is to work with them. So I'm super excited to be in the travel industry as well, serving some folks that definitely need some good solutions to some of their problems. So super excited to be able to learn from everybody and listen in on how everybody's using Tern and what they're excited about.
It's so exciting to have Courtney on the kind of partnerships team. I think we mentioned this in a previous episode, but just the number of inbound requests from agencies who want to learn more about the platform. And we're so behind. And so it's been a little bit probably of a whirlwind. It's kind of classic startup / definitely classic Tern to throw a lot at people in their first couple of days. This is, I think, the midway through day 5 for you, Courtney. So like first impressions of joining Tern now that you're almost a week in, how's it been?
Yeah, I can confidently say that there hasn't been a meeting that I haven't laughed in. So that's the most important part. Meetings have been going great. Learning from the people that we're serving has been also going great. I mean, we have a really great community of folks behind us. And I mean, of course, a lot of information, but it'll all come together pretty soon. And yeah, I'm excited to just keep learning, and again, you know, knowing that we have so many people interested helps to just keep pushing us to the moon. So I'm excited to watch it grow and see what week 2 brings for everybody too.
You mentioned that kind of just like community, and it was just like so affirmed through so many things every week. I mean, it's just the community that we have around Tern never ceases to amaze me. And you know, I posted, I think it was like maybe Monday or Tuesday of this week, just being like, hey, like, would anybody be willing, like, we've got these incredible new joiners, like, would people be willing to like just take 45 minutes to an hour out of your day to like walk them through how to use the platform? And I think we have like 35 comments on that post, right? Yeah. So like, I'm like, whoa, like this blew up more than I thought. Like you have fun figuring that out. But I think that's so true about the community. Couple icebreaker questions, again, help people get to know you. We did coffee conversations. We've talked about this on the podcast. This is something that as a remote company, we really prioritize every Friday, getting together for 45 minutes to an hour, and just like connecting as humans, right? It's not about work. It's just like connecting as humans. So today's question, which was picked by one of our engineers, Matt, was if you could invite 3 people to a dinner party, living or dead, who would you invite? And so, Courtney, what was your answer for that?
Yeah, so my three people were Anthony Bourdain, Marsha P. Johnson, and Jerry Garcia. Feels like it would be a super super fun dinner to have, one on one individually, or have all three together. So that was a great question as well.
And I loved the kind of like different ways that people thought about that question of like, and I think you said, I didn't really think about how they would all get along, but I think it would be a very interesting dinner and you kind of think about it more independently. But yeah, you'd love to be a fly on the wall in that dinner.
Yeah, absolutely. The stories would be probably pretty funny.
Pretty funny. I agree. And maybe just kind of, being a travel company, any fun travel stories, memories, favorite places you've been that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I mean, I've been grateful to have the opportunity to travel, and I hope that everybody gets the chance to do it at some point as well. But I think for me, maybe like a core memory of travel to a place that I've been would be Cape Town. I had the chance to live there for like 6 months, which was incredible. Incredible culture, incredible people, and just like sitting on the beach and being able to stare at the mountains was something that I like have never been able to do before. So that was a really like core memory for me. And hope I can get back there one day for sure.
Did you see the penguins when you were in Cape Town?
I did. They're my favorite animal. So another fun fact: penguins
There you
are
go.
my favorite animal. So I made sure to go to the beach when I was there, and hang out with them for a bit as well. It was super cool.
I remember I've seen like the signs where it's like you have to be careful like when you're driving away that the penguins
Yeah.
haven't like come under your car. Like it's
Yep.
wild.
They hang out, they like walk up. You're just like walking down to the beach and they're walking up. There's like a little gate, obviously, to try and keep them in. But I mean, as you're coming out, they're coming out. And yeah, they just hang out by your cars and you're just walking alongside them on the road.
So cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Courtney, could not be more excited to have you on the team. And like I said, it's going to be, it's always a little bit of trial by fire here at Tern, but like I know there are agencies that are just like chomping at the bit to be able to join and to learn more and kind of stay up to date with all the incredible kind of updates that we talk about. So welcome. And we're going to move over Brooklyn. Super excited to have you on the team. Why don't you tell people who you are, what team you're joining, and kind of what excited you about Tern?
Absolutely. It's great to be here in Brooklyn. I'm joining the support and enablement team. And I'm just really excited to just be a part of the future of travel and what Tern was doing to advisors and how we can improve that. So really excited to be a part of that. This is the beginning of day 3 for me. So lot of learning so far. And honestly, what's impressed me the most since being here is just how everyone is so excited and so energized about making Tern a better product. And every request that comes in is looked at and taken seriously into improving advisors' their businesses. So that's just been very impressive to see starting out.
Love that. And just to like bring that to life for people, like when people join Turn, they're like, we've got docs and videos and like all, I mean, like, there's literally like multiple like 15-page documents that are like, here's about the travel industry. Here's our strategy for the quarter. Like, I mean, it is a fire hose. So the fact that you're here doing a podcast 2.5 days in is, I think actually just like a perfect representation of how fast we move at Turn. You talked a little bit about kind of those first impressions. Anything else that has kind of maybe surprised you since joining, or we can move on to the kind of fun icebreakers if not?
Yeah, I mean, Courtney kind of touched on it, just the community that is behind Turn and everyone who's just so excited about a product. I haven't really experienced that, just the enthusiasm, excitement, and see what's changing constantly and improving their business and time and everything like that has been really cool to witness just how much support is around Turn.
And Brooklyn's joining. I can't remember. I think maybe you mentioned this, but like joining on to help Ellen along, like on the support side. We'll also be leaning in a little bit on kind of the marketing front. And we were literally just talking this morning about some case studies. So if you're listening to this and you want to be part of a case study on how you're using Turn and kind of anything like that, get in touch, put a comment. We'd love to kind of feature you. But let's talk about some of these icebreakers. What did you say for the 3 people at your dinner party?
Okay, so I also put Anthony Bourdain because he is all things travel and food. So I can't think of a better dinner party without Anthony. But then 2 other things I love is fashion and music. So I put Frank Ocean and Anna Wintour. And I think it would be a very interesting dinner conversation. Lots of amazing topics to talk about. So I think that would be a great dinner.
I should have asked Courtney this too. Would you describe yourself as a foodie, or like what? How do you think about that?
Absolutely. I think the best part of traveling is the food. So, yeah, I love food and travel. I think they go hand in hand. You learn a lot about the people and the culture. And so, yeah, I will always seek out the best restaurants. I love food recommendations anywhere I am. So, absolutely.
And that's a perfect segue into any fun travel memories, or kind of like, yeah, what sticks out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So if we're talking food, I will go to Japan over and over and over again, can never get enough. But a particular travel experience that I think I will just always remember is I did an African horse safari in Kenya. And it was incredible being able to just be up close and personal with the animals. Kind of crazy. Everyone's like, what about lions? And, it's a valid question. But it was incredible to be on a horse and be right next to giraffes, which are my favorite animal. And it's just an incredible experience.
That is amazing. Also, I love how you just throw in there the yeah, the lions are a legitimate concern, but like, was there a solution to that? Like, was there like that? Was it? I know, like sometimes they just have a big gun and that's the solution, but like, it was just like we're just hoping they don't see us. Like, what?
I
How did that go?
mean, yeah, I assumed there would be a gun as well. There is not. So we're just with the guides, and they're like, just don't run if you see them. So you just kind of huddle up with all the horses, and then you just don't look like prey, and you won't be prey. So it's intense, but we didn't see any on horseback, which was good because I don't think instinctually I'd be able to chill right next to a lion. So, but it was cool.
Fair. Um, well, Brooklyn, Courtney, thank you both so much for joining the Flight Path podcast here, like day 5, day 3. If you're listening and you're a regular listener, like give some love in the comments. Like, get in touch if you want to be part of a case study. It is really special to watch the Tern team grow, and it's just been so fun getting to know Courtney and Brooklyn, and like they're going to continue to show up in just such an incredible way for this industry and for all of you. So thank you for joining, and we're going to get back to the regularly scheduled programming of people having to listen to Brad, Molly, and I talk for the next 25 minutes. But we will hopefully have you back in a future episode sometime soon.
Sounds great.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right. Brad, Molly, let's do like a weekend review. How have y'all been? Like, what's been going on? Let's start with, sorry, like, who should start? I'm like, I did the intros. I'm done. I'm not done. Still facilitating. Okay.
Yeah, we've been great. Well, one, just like having new team members is always fun. Like, I got to spend time with Courtney, just getting to learn about her and her experience, and like kind of show her a little bit of how design works at Tern. So that was a big highlight of the week. Also had a chance to work on a lot of like incremental small improvements for advisors. So I'm losing track of what's shipped and what's coming soon. But the 2 highlights this week around there is one, being able to mark bookings as not commissionable. It's really important for reporting to make it not look like you've got a bunch of like bookings that are outstanding that really are not, because you're not expecting commission at all. So you'll be able to exclude those things from your reporting and your details like that. And then another important like bookkeeping piece is right now in Tern, when you mark something as paid, you can't adjust the date it was paid. And sometimes you like use the client's credit card to pay on Friday, and then Monday you go into Tern and you're like, oh yeah, this is actually paid now. And you can't say like, wait a minute, I actually paid that, or they paid that, last Friday. So that'll be coming soon if it's not already live by the time you're listening to this, where you'll be able to adjust that date. So we'll default to the day you mark it as paid, but then you could tweak that to make sure that accurately reflects when the card was actually used, and your travelers will see that as well on their side. So yeah, it's been fun to get to continue to move forward, just these like small improvements that seem little and small, but actually make a big deal in the overall day-to-day experience using the product.
Yeah. I remember on support, like there's like weird things coming up where it's like, well, like I did this like workaround. It was like around cancellations because I didn't want to show up on commissions. And it's like, yeah, like you said, those like little things can really actually kind of create these challenges. And I think it's another cool example of just like how we approach building product. Like you ship this feature, we realize, oh, this actually needs to evolve. Now we're addressing the kind of the polish around it. Molly, what's your week looked like?
Man, it's been a little bit hectic. I think last week was the onsite, and it was only like 2.5 days, but so much happens every day that I feel like I've been in a little bit of catch-up mode this week. Like Brad said, would echo just like welcoming new teammates is amazing. I didn't know that their favorite animals were penguin and giraffe, which feels so random and cool. So like I like them even more now. I got to meet with Courtney, and she just had like such great questions on the why behind certain workflows and how advisors are using our products, and like really trying to just deeply understand. So I could not be more excited for her to start talking to agencies and more advisors and really get in there. And I'm excited. I'll be meeting with Brooklyn next week to do kind of a similar session. And then actual like feature work, our standard work wise, email collaboration is a big one. We'll unpack what that means and talk about that in a little bit. We're getting a lot ready for some importing of data. And there's a few different pieces there again, which we can get into. So yeah, a lot of good stuff this week as always.
So cool. Excited to dig in. I'll keep my update short because there's not a lot of R&D stuff that I've been focused on, but most of my time has been onboarding folks, spending time with Courtney and Brooklyn. We also have actually a couple other offers out, so expect even more people to be joining. So that's been taking up some time. And then really, I think I mentioned this in a previous podcast, but like rethinking our website, trying to make sure that we do a better job telling the story of how much Tern has evolved and how robust the feature set is. If you're listening to this, chances are pretty good you're like a Tern user and you know how quickly we move, but our website really hasn't been refreshed meaningfully since May. And so it's still referencing outdated agency content, and it's really just time for a fresh coat of paint. So I've been focusing a lot on redoing the content and then flowing into just kind of some of the ops stuff that goes into making sure that these new hires are super successful, which has been fun. It's like a lot of that kind of deep work, but feeling pretty good about it. Let's dig in. I think you both sort of alluded to this, Molly. I think you were just talking about email collaboration, and that's the kind of next phase of that is launching. We talked a little bit about it last podcast, but why don't you give folks like the update on what's launching or has launched, and what kind of makes it a little unique?
Yeah. So as of this morning, the second piece of email collaboration is live. So if you got the last podcast, you know that actually last Friday, right before the podcast, we launched the ability for a trip collaborator. So, folks working together on a trip who aren't necessarily the owner of the trip. Maybe it's an agency owner, it's a VA, it's another advisor. They were, as of last Friday, able to see all of the communication related to a trip, which is so critical. The client asks certain questions, need help with something. They're just having the paper trail of everything going on is just so critical. As of today, not only can you see all of that information, you can also email the travelers directly as a collaborator from the trip. So you don't have to jump outside of Tern, reference their email, shoot them a note. You can just kind of trigger that right from the product itself. So that'll be really huge. You can also reply to your own threads if you've initiated conversations from the trip. But there is one thing that we think is kind of interesting to highlight here. We can talk a little bit about why it's difficult. So you can't, as of today, reply to threads started by another advisor, another person on the trip who wasn't you. And if you think about like an email client experience today, like a Gmail, you can't just like jump in as like, Molly at Tern.travel. I can't just like jump into a David at Tern.travel Gmail thread. And the way that we integrate with people's emails clients, it's pretty kind of like a gnarly issue of how we would actually make that feel work and feel seamless within the Tern product. So this isn't to say that we won't do something in the future to make this easier. We're actually going to be really kind of closely looking at feedback related to email collaboration, just to understand like when and how we want to solve for this. But yeah, the replying to threads is the tricky one that as of right now, you're just going to need to either start a new thread or you can reply in your email client to existing threads that you did not start.
And I think this, like, yeah, maybe a couple of things there. There's also like so many watch outs, right, and risks that you just add to this feature if you start allowing people to like see and engage with emails as somebody else. Like that just kind of gets messy for so many reasons. But kind of zooming out to it, I think this feature is talk a lot about these collaboration features, I think being truly differentiated. But one of the things, just a couple of tangible examples to expand on the ones that you gave, we hear agency owners that like get a phone call that one of their top advisors is unfortunately like unexpectedly ended up in the hospital, right? And is like totally off grid. And they have 4 different clients that are traveling in the next week. Like you want to be able to lean in and kind of provide that support. And like, but how do you even get the context of the trip? How do you know what's happening? What communications have gone out? Like being able to come into the trip and see all of that information from the itinerary to the confirmation numbers to the email threads that have been going on. Like, and then being able to say, like, cool, I'm going to start a new email from myself to those clients. Like, hey, just let you know something happened with your advisor, but like, I'm here to like help provide that support. There's no other system out there that can do that, right? And so you think about this from an agency perspective, we think that's hugely transformational in the ability for you to provide that kind of last line of defense. And then you also mentioned the assistant side, right? When you have multiple people that are working on a trip just in normal day-to-day operations, instead of having to do like shared inboxes, which like feel really kind of unpersonalized and like if you're a client reaching out to your travel advisor and it's like an info app because it's a shared inbox, it just has this kind of weird feel. But being able to collaborate on communications is like really powerful, so that even if you don't send it from a shared inbox, everybody can kind of see it on your team. You can initiate those communications. So just wanted to bring that to life because I do think this is another one of those features where like you talk about the details and it's like really fascinating, but the way that this will enable advisors and agencies to work is leaps and bounds ahead of anything that's been possible out there, at least in the travel kind of CRM space. You certainly see this in the, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year CRM software, but like to be able to bring this to travel advisors and agencies, I think is a really incredible accomplishment. Brad, anything you want to add on the email collaboration front?
No, I think we covered it. Yeah.
There's so then maybe like kind of moving on, there's another, you alluded to some of this like import and like maybe kind of teeing up what is the problem with data importing from an agency perspective that we're trying to solve. How are we thinking about that, and what does that kind of look like from a design perspective?
Yeah. So sorry.
Easy, Ma. This is Brad's question.
I'm so excited about it. Yeah, I can start. We'll tag team it. But yeah, the what we've heard from a bunch of agencies is like, I would love to move my agency over to Tern, but like, what do I do with my years and years of data that I need to like keep around? And for multiple reasons. One, I want to like make sure my business continues to grow and I can benchmark kind of year over year, like how have our sales gone up? How does this year compared to last year, or even like the month I start using Tern and the month before I joined. And so like there's a big challenge if you just switch systems and you lose all of your old data, or like have to go just dig through spreadsheets to find it. Like that's a non-starter for many agencies, or just seems scary. And so that's a problem we're going to solve in Tern, being able to import all that historical data around your bookings and your sales, associate it with agents, both those in Tern, or if folks aren't yet in Tern, you'll still be able to break it down by agent within all the reports. And then the other thing you'll be able to do is it's not just sales data, right? There's often you have your system using today, you're tracking bookings that aren't going to get commission paid out for months, maybe even a little over a year. And you don't want to have to hold on to your old system to like eventually reconcile those bookings. And so we'll enable you to also, bring in the bookings where there's commissions still outstanding. And then you can just work with them the same way you work with bookings log directly in Tern, to be able to log commission payments against them when you get a supplier statement, track the split and the payout, make sure you mark those things as paid so your agents can see them. So that'll all work in Tern. And we're going to, on the design side, actually, like we already have a pattern for a lot of these imports for contact importing. And we work with a really cool third-party tool that helps you like clean up your data as you're bringing it in. If you don't have things labeled exactly right, you can adjust those things kind of in bulk at the time of importing. So should actually feel like a pretty seamless experience to get all that old historical data, dump it into Tern, and then you can say goodbye to your old system and just like move entirely over. So excited to see how folks use that. Should be coming within the next couple of weeks.
I'll just tag team a little bit. I think one other thing, just how to think about this feature, it is for agency owners to kind of get that agency data over as like a way of implementing on Tern, as Brad said. So we actually, it does cost us money internally, like Tern money, in order to do those imports through that third party provider. So there'll be like an upper bound limit on the total number of imports, but you'll be able to do as many historical bookings as you need to within that. And then the other thing is, never fear if you're an advisor or just someone else listening to this podcast. We're also planning a part 2 of this project, where you'll be able to get historical trips into your contact data, which we know is like also huge. So we're doing both pieces of work. We'll release them separately, but that'll just be really exciting for everybody using Tern.
So cool. Yeah, wow, that's going to be really game changing from an agency migration perspective. And like, love that if you've used the contact tool, at least for the kind of basic contact info, it's like pretty magical, like how the AI can like detect the fields already and help you clean up some of that data. And so it's really cool that we're able to bring that on the agency side. Speaking of some of these kind of like back-end architecture-y things, right, which I think of kind of, this data importing part is a piece of it. We've got a pretty big kind of behind the scenes migration that's sort of starting to kick off, will be kind of happening over the next couple of months. Ma, you want to bring that to life for people?
Yeah. So the provider that we work with for both our email and our calendar integration is called Nihilus. And they have this massive upgrade that they've been working on for past year plus, like maybe longer. And in order to maintain support with them, we have to migrate over to the latest version. But what's kind of cool about this is it comes with a lot of really amazing benefits. So the reason that they did the entire upgrade in the first place is to just improve a lot of what they've learned about what matters to their customers. And, Tern's one of their customers. So things like email deliverability, how easy it is to like audit and help our users when things go wrong with the email setup process and deliverability for emails. There's potentially some of the features that have been restrictions of the integration are going to be a lot easier. We can't promise any specific features yet, but things like a Zoom or Microsoft Teams integration to better sync that when people are scheduling with you should theoretically be a lot easier. And we're trying to determine how much extra work it would be and when we could time that sort of thing. So speed, performance, security, just like it is a fairly behind the scenes project, but I think once we're moved over to it, all of that should just like feel a lot speedier and better and just more performant. And so yeah, I think it'll be also like in front of the scenes too, whatever the right expression is.
Yeah, we'll feel it. I mean, like it's fairly rare even now, but like if you've had an email that doesn't show up right away, right, or doesn't send right away, like there's some delay, right? This is supposed to like really help with that kind of reliability, some of the connectedness on the account side, and like Molly said, there's some polish that will hopefully be introduced and a lot more to come on that front. But that'll be a big undertaking anytime you deal with email, right? The volume of email that we deal with is pretty incredible. In terms of like your search. And I know we talked about that a couple of weeks ago in terms of like search performance on emailing. It is probably one of our biggest volume of data sets that we're kind of juggling all the time. And so being able to get more performance there will be really cool. Anything else that we want to talk about before we get into the week ahead here?
I think week ahead. Yeah.
Week ahead. All right. Molly, you get to kick things off.
Yeah. Interviewing still. I think we've brought on a lot of amazing people, slash have offers out. But we're still talking to a lot of engineers. So it's always really fun to talk to engineers because, Brad and I work with them so closely. So I'm assuming I'll have more of those interviews next week, which will be fun. And then there's going to be just a lot more to do to get the historical data project over the line. This is one that we'll probably do a fairly significant amount of beta learning for. So anytime you're importing data from other systems, there's like 500 different cases that you didn't consider in the research process. And so the best way to actually improve and tweak things to make it more self-service is to just sit down with a handful of folks, take their real data, import it with them, and just see all the things that go wrong. So I'm assuming I'll spend a fair amount of my time there.
Brad, what do you've got coming up next week?
Yeah, I mean, I think next week we're shifting back on the design side to focus on groups again. And I think we can share this. Basically, everything we talk about in this podcast today are like the last things before the group work actually starts, barring any urgent thing that comes up all of a sudden. But like groups is the next thing after the importing and the email upgrade that we've been talking about. So it's really shifting focus back there, breaking the project down into like things we can work on kind of each week and not just this big amorphous overall project. So that's really the highlight in all these interviews Molly's been mentioning. Folks have asked us like, what are you most excited about? And it's like, groups. Like I can't wait to actually get pieces out there. So that's probably main focus. And then again, there'll be more of these like incremental changes. I think the next thing on the list is coming back to a few more itinerary improvements. We'll have to confirm exactly how big some of those things are, but hopefully we should make some progress on some of those next week.
Love it. I think the groups I saw even in the Facebook group, like somebody else kind of asking like, what's the latest timeline on groups? And I think trending probably more towards like end of year for the full kind of like group experience, but like hopefully in the next month or two, starting to see some of those kind of like noticeable group features starting to come live. Is that a fair?
I would say definitely. You'll start, like starting in the next month. So like you'll start to see chunks of this go live, and we'll be betaing some of this, and you'll continue to see, as always with Tern, every week or two, meaningful improvements. So hearing end of year, like never fear, that's like to make sure that all the pieces of the vision are coming to life, and will make noticeable progress over the rest of the fall.
Yeah. That might be the first time ever that a product manager has made a more aggressive, more clear timeline. Like, I feel like usually that's flipped. So like, I document that. You heard it from Molly. Like, not of end of year. It's coming soon. Another really fun episode. Fun having Courtney and Brooklyn join. Any closing thoughts before we wind down?
I'm just glad I'm not at my parents' house. The lights stayed on. We'll see what shenanigans happen next week. But it seems a little more calm this week.
Very calm. You've got your chic background. Like it's all all's right with the world here.
Katie said my jacket was also chic, so apparently that's the.
Oh wow!
It is. Yeah. No, I totally agree with that.
If you're not watching,
it's very autumnal too.
The only other thing I want to say is like I'm not surprised because I'm always blown away by the Tern community, but like just the sheer amount of welcoming of our new team members, and like the offers to help sit down with them and walk through like workflows and stuff. Like you guys are just the best. Are talking to the community, like really, like it's just been amazing. And imagine being a new team member and just being welcomed in that way, not only by the team but like our users. It's just so cool. So
yeah, I think it's a perfect way to wind up down this episode. It's just like echoing everything Molly just said, and we talked about it earlier. Like, this is the coolest audience to be building for that I can imagine, right? And I think like it continues to surprise me every week. You like post something in the Facebook group, and there's like dozens of people raising their hand to help, like unsolicited emails being like, hey, like here's how like Tern is changing my business. It's just incredibly motivating, right? To like see how like what we're building actually matters for all of you. And I think there's a lot of software companies out there who like they're building things that do actually matter, but like they don't really hear about it, right? And like we, some extent, like we heard about this at Handshake, it's kind of hard to find a student who like fundamentally had their life changed by Handshake. We knew there were lots out there, but they weren't taking time to write in and be like, here's my story. So just hearing from all of you, getting the feedback in the Facebook group, like the fact that you listen to these podcasts, like really does motivate the team every single day. So grateful for all of you. And thank you for listening. Thank you for participating. Thank you for welcoming everybody. We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.